purging is at last at hand. The day of doom is here. All that is evil, all that are lies, your parents, your leaders, those who would call themselves your judges, those who have lied and corrupted the earth, they shall all be cleansed.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, whatever time you've tuned in. We've got the Otter with us today. So Ahnaf and I and Mr. Otter are going to be discussing, just the current state of affairs. Most likely what we'll be going to be focusing on is the psychology of the American people as our political situation goes from bad to worse to even worse. Good day, Sir Otter, and welcome to Eurabiamania.
Oh, thanks for having me. Hello, I'm the Otter. Find me on otterlycorrect.substack.com.
Utterly correct.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
And a
Sir Otter is amazing.
Too.
So if you haven't subscribed to him already, he's already published for Multipolar Press. So he's got that great article on NATO. He's got some other cool stuff. But no, thank you, Sir Kenaz, and to Sir Otter. Morning for you fine gents. Afternoon where I'm at. Sir Otter, what do you make of the current predicament that I guess you can call them right-wing, nationalists, whatever you want to call them? What do you think about their current predicament where, like, they have to justify all this bullshit?
It's starting to sound just a little bit desperate, a little bit like the last gasps of woke, where you either agree with us or we're going to beat you over the head with this proverbial bat. We're seeing a lot of the same behavior now. Don't counter signal, don't disagree, trust the plan, Patriots in control, and not a lot of substance.
Holy shit, Sir Kenaz, are Patriots in control?
Well, I don't know who's in control, so I suppose they might be. I mean, right now I'm the old what's the name? Godspeed You Black Emperor, the opening of Dead Flag Blues line just comes out, the car's on fire and there's nobody at the wheel. That basically sums up America in 2025 at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it feels like Trump doesn't really have a plan.
Exactly. I mean, like, we talked about this before the show started, but the soybean farmers, their largest export market is China. China now has import controls on soybeans. Not a single American soybean made it to market after May 2025 of this year, right? So what, June, July, August, September, over 4 months of not getting anything inside. I mean, folks, if you want to know what that is, that's like, if you go to Atlas of Economic Complexity for Harvard University, that's like $150 billion worth of export, right? The farmers are going to need a bailout, bros. Like, the way things are going. If you don't bail them out, that's even worse. But, let's say you do. Okay, so you bail out the farmers for tens of billions of dollars. I mean, Trump has already given his buddy Milei $20 billion to bail out Argentina. Argentina, by the way, who exports soybeans to China and everyone else. So you're giving this guy who undercuts you more money. Meanwhile, what have your tariffs generated? Oh, I don't know, like an excess of $90 to $100 billion. So, okay, subtract 20 billion. So about, I'm going to say 70, 80 billion left. And a large portion of that stuff is going to be used to bail out the soybean farmers, right? Assuming it even happens, right? If it doesn't happen, I'll actually laugh out loud at how retarded America is. But that's where things are at, bros. That's what plan trusting gets you. Plan trusting gets you to where 86% of the tariffs per Goldman Sachs, as of June of this year, is paid by the American consumer and the American companies, right? And then after the 86% pay the tariffs, the excess tariffs, it goes to Argentina and to fucking bailouts. So that's where things are at.
Okay.
Predictable outcome.
Yeah. I have a question here that's jumping out at me is bailing out the soybean farmers is kind of a desperate stopgap measure. It doesn't leave us with the problem that if we still have the tariffs on next year, you still ain't selling no soybeans. I mean, what exactly are you supposed to do? I'm guessing if you've got several thousand acres, I'll just grow something else on it next year, maybe a more complicated deal than oh shit, yeah, no, we won't plant soybeans tomorrow. We'll plant corn. May be able to get away with that on a smaller family farm. These soybean farms are huge.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like and if the tariffs are still going, Argentina and Brazil are still going to be selling soybeans. So what you basically doing at this point is giving them an emergency payment before they sell their farm at like a huge loss for somebody else to like turn it into a condominiums or something.
You
I mean,
figured it
am I
out, Sir
missing
Kenneth.
anything?
No, you figured it out. Oh my gosh. Fucking circus. No, like, that's what it is. It's like, well, we need to be more like I saw one of these soybean guys. He's like, I think president of the American Soybean Association. He went on CNBC and a few of these other places, and he just basically said, because of the tariffs and because of these other things, our farmers on average are 20% more expensive than the Brazilians and the Argentinians. So we start off the race with a 20% like gap, right? And so when I heard him say that, I'm like, okay, but that means you've admitted to basically the market share just disappearing. Because here's the thing, right? The Chinese consumers have now moved on to the Brazilian and the Argentinian soybeans, right? They're not coming back to you, bros, right? Because like if you're like a restaurant owner in China
Demand's
and
been
you'd like
filled.
yeah. Demand's been filled, man. And it's like, well, I'm a restaurant owner. I buy from this. There's a stickiness, right? Like when a buyer buys something, there's a stickiness to the relationship in the sense that if I buy from someone for several years, I'm just like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna buy from this guy, whatever, right? Like it's not that complicated, right? I mean, the Americans have put themselves in the same spot, unfortunately, right? It's like, well, please, forget about that idiot Trump 2 or 3 years ago who did the stupid tariffs. Please buy from us again. And I'm like, no, man, I'm not interested. So,
Yeah, that's what killed cotton in the South after the Civil War. They boycotted Britain because Britain, and after, like, the South boycotted Britain because they were still selling cotton to the North. After 1865, they had already built farms in Egypt for Egyptian cotton, which is where everybody goes for cotton now. And the American cotton industry was essentially dead on its feet. That's
yeah,
what
the
soybeans are going to be.
the Confederates, right? And like the Confederates kind of like they had this like 12D chess trust the plan, all the bullshit, right? Back before Trump popularized it. But their 12D chess trust the plan was as follows, right? And it sounds very simple. It's like, look, the British Empire has a growing textile industry. Who supplies them the majority of the cotton? Well, we do. What happens if we put export controls? Well, they're not going to get the inputs. So the British Navy, we can negotiate with the British and be like, okay, send the British Navy over and, help us in our struggle against the Union, right? That did not happen. What happened was, Egypt, very, very dirt poor, and I think back then colony of the British. They're just like, okay, there's a opportunity now because the Americans have vacated the market, and we are going to use all this cheap farmland near the Nile Delta and grow cotton there. And yeah, Sir Kenneth, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Same thing's happening with like these like countries like Argentina and Brazil, right? They're just like,
That's an
hooray, the
interesting
Americans are
historical
out.
parallel.
Oh yeah, oh
Um,
yeah,
when I first heard that Trump wanted to do the tariffs, I thought he would do it for particular industries that he
yeah,
wanted
yeah,
to
yeah,
build up locally. That was my vision of a Trump tariff policy. I was excited about it, but it
yeah,
turns out he
yeah.
just wants to slap people with a geopolitical weapon, basically. He's weaponizing tariffs to get what he wants in negotiations for our short-term geopolitics, but he's damaging long-term relationships.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
It's
Like,
nonsensical. I just don't understand what the goal is unless you're trying to just squeeze out whatever you can of the American system before it collapses.
yeah,
Feels like
yeah.
ends of days behavior.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. No, you're absolutely correct. And the thing is, right? If you're a mercantilist, right? Mercantilists have some weird things to say, but one of the things they believe in is, okay, if you trade with all the countries of the world, at the end of the trade, what you want to do is you want to have a trade surplus, right? And what does success mean? Success means you have a shit ton of gold and silver in your vault, right? And if you support that and you're like, I support Trump's tariffs because on the net, after you add in all the countries, you get the gold and the silver and the vaults and the surplus. Okay, fine, whatever. I mean, I got some criticisms of that, but whatever. That kind of makes sense. Trump's tariffs are unique, and it's something that's never been done in the history of humanity and cannot be done, right? And there's structural reasons why it cannot be done. His tariffs are for every individual country, we want a trade surplus, right?
Well, this
Which is
fundamentally misunderstands America's position as a global reserve currency.
bingo.
Because
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
need, it's a trifling dilemma. I
yeah,
mean, it's like
yeah,
goes back to the 1930s. It was a problem for a long time that you
yeah.
always have to have a trade deficit, so there's extra dollars to spend with.
Bingo.
And if you have
No,
a trade
yeah.
surplus, then you're kind of fucked if you're the global reserve currency.
Well, you figured it out. Because like it's not something that you get for free. You're absolutely correct, right? Because if you have a trade deficit with country A and you have a trade surplus with country B, what that means is in country A, there's a current account in the following sense, in the sense that there's a surplus of dollars in country A due to the trade deficit, and in country B, because there's a trade surplus, there's a dollar deficit. That's how it works, man. Right?
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
balancing act. Yeah, there's a balancing act. And so it's like, well, we want to try and have a trade surplus with everyone, individually. What that means is you're looking at the dollar surpluses that are still outstanding, and you're just telling people, yeah, dump the dollar. Oh, we want our dollars back, or oh, use the dollar to buy gold or silver or whatever because we are not reliable, which is precisely what's happening right now.
Yeah, gold and silver are pumping like crazy.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So very predictable. I just laugh at this, man. I'm just like, what are these guys doing? What are these guys doing, right? So yeah, the Chinese are like telling their partners, yeah, the Shanghai vaults, we're gonna safekeep your gold. If you have gold and you wanna send us a portion of it, we can safekeep it for you in Shanghai. We'll do some of this other stuff. So all the shit's happening. Trump has accelerated it. Like we've talked about this on previous shows. I guess we could probably rehash it a bit more if you want to. But I actually am more interested in the psychology behind all this crap, like Sir Kenaz was saying at the beginning of the show, which is like, what do you think, Sir Otter, is the main impetus behind people trusting the plan, right? Like, is it them thinking, okay, well, Trump is a retard, but hey, man, that's part of the secret sauce. So, like, Trump behaving like a retard, man, you just got to give it a few weeks and months and we'll see something good, right? Is that what's going on, or is there something deeper?
I think you're definitely hitting the nail on something that's true, that people really do believe he has a secret sauce. And it's kind of true. It's kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
true because Trump's a really good troll. But
Oh
being
yeah,
a
oh yeah,
really good
oh yeah.
troll doesn't necessarily mean that he's good with geopolitical strategy,
Hmm,
thinking
hmm.
5, 10 years ahead.
Hmm.
I mean, I think the proof's in the pudding that he's really thinking only a few months out to get
Yeah,
short-term
yeah, yeah,
goals settled
yeah.
when he wants them. And he's a good negotiator for sure. So people do
Hmm,
see he's competent, and he is competent, but he's not competent to the degree that he's radically changing his system without an evident plan. And that
hmm.
seems quite important when you're the imperial regime of the world, basically, and you're leading by
Hmm.
example. If you're going to rock the boat radically, you have to give allies reassurances, and that doesn't seem to be the case. They seem to be really moving ad hoc with things and expect the whole
Hmm.
world
Hmm.
to follow suit.
That's basically it. So
It
Kenneth,
goes
thoughts?
also for the European allies. That's sort of how the Trump administration wants them to just toe the line.
Well,
Yeah, yeah.
I think the thing with the European allies is I do give Trump credit for this. He's rightly realized that NATO and like us taking care of Europe's defense so they could have a great social support network has been a net drain on us. It would be smarter for us to, make nice with Russia. I'm not saying trust Russia. I'm not saying, have Putin put like puppets in the office. I'm saying, like, okay, look, you don't like us. We don't like you. We don't want to have a war. You know, let's sit down and hash this stuff out.
Yeah.
That would be a smarter thing to do. We're getting provocations with China. I mean, we can't win a war with China. We have a war with China. I say this frequently on this podcast. It's going to be like World War II, and we're going to be the Japanese. We're going to be going into a buzzsaw of a manufacturer that can make 50 ships in the time it takes us to make one.
Yeah.
So that's out. As far as Iran goes, I mean, Venezuela would be a tough nut to crack. I don't think we got the soldiers or the equipment to even put something in here. And yet we're posturing about making war. And a growing number of people are figuring out the United States is a paper tiger.
I wouldn't say it's a paper tiger. I would say it's more like the Americans have, and like, I don't know if Sir Otter, maybe I'll send it to him as well, but like Government Accountability Office. It's a 130-page report. It's not written by the Russians. It's not written by the Iranians. It's written by actual Americans who do this thing for a living. They looked at readiness of weapon systems and vehicles. Sir Otter, ground combat vehicles. What do you think the readiness rate was?
How about 37%?
Okay. 8% of vehicles were combat ready, 92% lacked spare parts. I'll repeat that again. 92% of ground combat vehicles lacked spare parts to be used on the battlefield. All right. Ground support vehicles, readiness rate. What do you think it is?
Let's say, okay, I'll shoot lower this time. 19%.
Ooh, very close. 20% readiness rate, 80%.
Nice.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, see,
A little
80%
better this
are
time. Okay.
There we go. Yeah. We were also doing pop quiz with Sir Cleveland on the previous show. Yeah, so 80% lack spare parts. So like Sir Kenaz is saying paper tiger. I mean, like, what the fuck is 5,000 Marines gonna do? Okay, so you fire off a bunch of cruise missiles and you kill a bunch of Venezuelans. I guess you can kill a bunch of guys in speedboats and tell your base they're a bunch of drug dealers. No, they're not. They're a bunch of fishermen. But anyhow, they'll probably believe it. What the fuck are they gonna do, Sir Kenaz? Right?
Yeah.
Like,
There's
no
nothing...
ability. Yeah. There's no ability to do. Like, we have to remember, in Afghanistan and Iraq, the Kurds did the majority of the fighting in Iraq, and in Afghanistan it was the Northern Alliance, right? Like, the last time America actually had a ground force, like actual, like, okay, 50, 60, 100,000 Americans on the ground doing shit, that was Vietnam, right? Like, everything after that is like, okay, we'll give you our jets and please give us air basing. And oh, you're gonna fight, and don't worry, man, we're gonna give you like that Kurdish state we promised, or we're gonna give you like government or whatever. Like, that's all he's got, man. Like, like, people don't notice, and when I bring this number up, they get astonished. But I'm gonna bring it up. 2001 to 2021, the Afghan War, right? The reason the American casualties are low is not because Americans are super soldiers. The reason the casualties are low is because, as a ratio and proportion of fighting forces, the Americans were very, very low, right? Majority of the fighting was done by the Afghan National Army, right? Okay, killed in action. 52,000 on the Taliban side. Sir Otter and Sir Kenaz, pop quiz for you. What is the killed in action for the total, for everyone? So America, Afghan National Army, all their allies. What do you think it was?
I'm not sure.
So 52,000, it's not that high. It's 65,000.
Okay,
so
52,000
on the 65,000 on the Afghan side is 52,000. If you do wounded unsanitary, so like amputations, people losing their eyes or whatever, the Taliban number is about 200,000 something. The America and allies, so Afghan National Army, all these guys, they're like 250, 260,000, right? By the way, I'm going to repeat this again. The reason the American numbers aren't that high is because Americans did not take part in the ground operations for the most part, right? And, like the cope people come up with is, but enough, Americans did the real work, man. Like they did the jets and stuff. I'm like, okay, man, but jets without ground support and basing is nothing, basically, right? So that's what it is. I mean, people have a lot of like incorrect ideas regarding like America's actual military capabilities. But you know what? Actually, let's circle back because like I think actually that's one of the reasons why I see this big like psychological drift of like people talking tough about Trump doing all this stuff versus getting actual like what did you call it, Sir Kenaz? Like you get like a giant piece of turd and you pretend it's like a chocolate mousse cake. I think maybe that's one of the reasons it's happening, right? Which is like they have this wrong idea, right, from the so-called war on terror, and now they're projecting it not onto just the tariffs and stuff, which is a non-military lens, but they're also projecting it onto the military side of things of like, yeah, man, we're just gonna get in there. Venezuela will cock and surrender in like 24 hours or whatever. What do you gents think about that? Like, is that what's happening here, or is there like more to the story than that?
Well, I think I'm noticing that for all the talk about an invasion in Venezuela, one of the things I'm not seeing so far is an invasion in Venezuela. What I am seeing is, quote, drug boats, unquote, being sunk.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's, again, I call the Trump presidency the kayfabe presidency. I mean, it's essentially he throws red meat to his bases with theatrical stuff. We're taking down drug dealers who have enough drugs in their fishing boat to kill 25,000, maybe more Americans, and watch us sink them. And aren't we great? They're not trying to establish a beachhead.
No.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't see it. I don't think we're going to be invading Venezuela, but I wouldn't underestimate America's ability to foment regime change over time. But that
Hmm.
doesn't seem to have been the case with Venezuela. Doesn't seem to have been
Yeah.
effective. They have
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
had a
Yeah.
successful CIA op there yet. Maybe
Venezuela,
this will be the one. Maybe they'll just
Hmm.
assassinate Hugo Chavez. I don't know. But at any
It's
rate,
not Hugo. Yeah, it's Nicolas Maduro. Like Nicolas
Maduro.
Maduro is the
Okay.
leader. Yeah. 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 I mean, you're correct. You're correct about the CIA stuff. The thing is though, like the CIA is not what it used to be. I mean, like the guy. Okay, so like Sir Malcolm said this on a previous show. He's like, okay, well, either the opposition in Venezuela rise up and overthrow Maduro or something like regime change, like you said, or it's like Maduro takes a samurai sword and cuts off his innards and like commits seppuku, right? And like the country falls apart. Like I'm not seeing that, folks. I'm seeing like Venezuela saying, yeah, we're gonna fight you, and you sanction us, you do all this crap to us, fuck you, Yankee, get away, right? And it's like, I'm not like the Israelis and the Americans are very good at this, like domestic terrorism, CIA bullshit, right? But if
Arab
you've only
Spring.
got oh yeah, of course, and it's like if you've only got like the one trick of pulling the rabbit out of the hat, man, like eventually people figure you out and they wisen up to it, right? Um, you could still be right, maybe there's some like covert thing going on with the opposition forces. I'm not an expert on this part of the world, but so
Me
far,
neither.
man, I mean, I'm not seeing much. I'm seeing a lot of chest thumping. I'm seeing a bunch of speedboats getting sunk, and I'm seeing like the MAGA rubes and imbeciles cheering for like fishermen getting blown out of the water, but nothing else other than that.
I,
Yeah, well, I guess we can reconvene a year or two from now and see where our predictions have gone. And
Fair enough.
I would guess with you. I don't think that
Yeah.
not much is going to happen. Not much at
Yeah,
all.
you're on team
I
nothing ever
think
happens. Fair enough. Yeah.
the Venezuelans have one ace in the hole that makes their position much stronger than a lot of the MAGA people that are cheering this on realize. Russia and China can give them missiles that are capable of sinking cargo boats. They can shut off the Panama Canal. That's a logistic nightmare for the United States. Hello?
Yeah. Has
Okay.
Trump gone anywhere with his negotiations on that to take control of the Panama Authority?
Not yet, not to my like, I mean, he's made noises about it. We're not back in charge. And the thing is, what if we are? I mean, look how we haven't been able to take down the Houthis.
That's
That's the
true.
Houthi strategy. The Houthis have essentially got Israel's nuts in a vice by, just you don't have to sink all the ships that are going through. You just sink enough of them so that the insurance rates go through the ceiling.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know there's been some bombings in Yemen. I haven't followed that closely, but
Yeah,
can you really stop this kind of behavior? Because it's not just the Houthis, it's also Somalia as well.
yeah.
Somali
Well,
pirates.
the Somali pirates. Well, the problem is Yemen is, I had not realized this because you don't see it on a Mercator projection map. Yemen is the size of California. Yemen is mostly desert, and that what ain't desert is mountain. Some of it's desert mountain. I mean, it's a really big area. There are a few cities, but most of the time, oh, I'm going to do a land, like, we're going to do a land run. Okay, we see we see we hear the planes coming, we run out of the way, they blow up a couple dozen of us maybe, but most of us get out, then we move on to another small location. You can't do a bombing run very effectively in a large area where people are scattered out over miles. In
So
the
you have
case,
to do a ground invasion.
you have to, okay, ultimately in any war, if you want to gain and hold territory, you have to put boots on the ground. I mean,
Yeah.
an air invasion can only do so much. In the case of the Houthi, I mean, if we see this in South America, they can make the cost of going through the Panama Canal, like they can raise insurance rates like 500%. I believe that's what happened when you had to cross into the Bab al Mandab. So,
Yeah.
that, and that will put a real crimp in American lifestyles if all of a sudden I can't sail around. We can't sail through Panama. We've got to go around South America.
The
Yeah.
Drake Passage.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
aren't good waters.
Those are not good waters. No. No. Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing, guys. I don't think there's gonna be a ground invasion or anything, right? I think it's just gonna be like air power, and I mean, I don't know if you gents noticed, but the Americans only have like less than 4,000 Tomahawks left. The reason we know this number is because we know for a fact that the production line for the Tomahawk is dead. Most of the quote unquote new Tomahawks are just basically refurbished old stuff. Um, each of the Tomahawks, uh, what the blast yield on it is like 500 kilo. So, if you dump it on a hospital, you can probably kill a lot of people, right? Like the usual domestic terrorism, Israel, America bullshit, right? But like the ability for America to get concessions from the rest of the world is on a clock, basically. Yes, you can kill all these people, you can kill a lot of civilians, right? But the other guy is not going to surrender, right? That's the thing with warfare. It's like the first half of the 20th century was about maneuver warfare, mechanized infantry, all the stuff, World War One, World War Two. You saw the evolution of that. The second half of the 20th century was obviously you had the nuclear stuff, the nuclear deterrent and whatnot, but then you also had guerrilla operations, all this other stuff, right? Like if we teleported back in time, right, and we teleported back to like Bangladesh or what have you, right, and you just looked at the death tolls, you're like, okay, well, the Bengali guerrillas have killed 12,000 Pakistanis, 38, 40,000 are wounded in action. And what's the Bengali death toll? Well, we don't know because the Bengali death toll is hard to measure. There's too much humidity. The bodies are decomposing everywhere due to the climate. But we are going to say 3 million, right? So you're like, well, obviously the Bengalis are going to lose. Well, that's not what happened, right? So that's the thing. It's like the ability of inflicting warfare. Like what did Clausewitz say? Clausewitz said, war is politics by other means, right? Specifically, it's politics where you inflict your will on your opponent or you get him to do your will or your bidding. right? America no longer has that ability, man. I mean, it's like, well, ground invasion of Yemen. Okay, but who are going to be the ground forces, right? Like the Saudis were literally right next door. I mean, they've been fighting Yemen. I mean, they're on a ceasefire right now, but they've been fighting Yemen in this like not proxy conflicts per se, but it's more like, well, you're having this civil war. Oh, sucks to be you, Yemen. I'm gonna send over like equipment to your enemies, right? And that hasn't done anything. Sir Ken has talked about the mountains. Yeah, I mean, Sana'a is basically a mountain fortress.
How long
Uh,
has the civil war been going on in Yemen?
2014 to the present. 2014 to the present. So
So over
you've
a decade.
got over a decade. Yeah, over a decade. The death toll for it is, let me just quickly go down here. Overall, this many deaths total. Yeah, so we're talking about over 377,000 direct and indirect deaths. We're talking about 4 million immigrants. So, like, people displaced. Portion of them goes to Europe, portion of that goes elsewhere. But, like, a lot of people stay in the vicinity and near the area. But, like, that's what it is, man. I mean, I don't think there's going to be a ground invasion. I think what this is, it's death via a thousand cuts. It's just like, yeah, we can kill a bunch of women and kids and civilians, but we cannot deal with the attrition. And I think the same thing is going to happen in Venezuela. Like, you know,
Or they can
um,
just last out like they did with Syria. It's not
yeah.
efficient, but
It's not
eventually
efficient, but like it's gonna
someone's
happen
gonna
that
win
way.
that civil war.
Hmm. Yeah. Like,
Probably be a pro-American.
I mean, Syria is interesting, right? Like, Shara is basically a puppet of Turkey, right? Like, Turkey funded his boys and army and what have you. Like, people say like this guy's like, he has an Al Qaeda past and all these other things. All of that's true, but like he gets his money from Turkey. His mercenaries are from Turkey. His soldiers are from Turkey. So like the main winner of Syria is not really America. It's Turkey. Turkey has a new client state, right? So that's what's going on. I mean, the
Hmm.
Venezuela thing is interesting. I just think like if it comes down to it, and it's gonna be, I don't think there's a ground invasion. I think it's just gonna be like, okay, he tries to do this like Tomahawk cruise missile thing, and the Venezuelans are pissed and they fire back, and I guess a bunch of Marines die or whatever, and then America runs. I don't like what's he gonna do, Sir Kenaz? Is he gonna land in a country that's got 3 times as much jungle as Vietnam? I don't think he's going to.
So I don't think a land invasion of anywhere with the current United States military is feasible. Pretty much,
No.
you couldn't invade Luxembourg. And I mean, I don't even say that to be insulting. I mean, literally, you don't have enough spare supply vehicles to invade Luxembourg. You'd invade Luxembourg and then have to be borrowing like jeeps from the locals.
Yeah. No. So, but what I find fascinating is that when you explain this to people, right? And maybe I spend too much time with these terminally online retards, but like when you explain this to people, they're just like, "No, man, your numbers are wrong." I'm like, "No, they're not. This is the Government Accountability Office. This is literally Americans writing about American affairs. This is not me pulling my numbers out of my ass or like, going to Iran or Russia and they give me like fake anti-American propaganda or whatever. No, this is the Government Accountability Office telling you
Your Russian
that
bot,
90,
man.
yeah,
Putin gave
Russian
me those
bot, man.
talking
Holy that
points.
oh bro, they accuse you of so much shit. Like when you give them that number of like 8% and 92%, they're just like, what the fuck are you saying, right? And you just see the cognitive dissonance, man. It's just like they cannot handle it. They cannot handle it. They're just like, what do you mean America can't inflict its will on the rest of the world? Like once you take that away from them, man, they're just fucking hollow, right?
Yeah.
And like honestly, they never had any power to begin with, in a certain sense. Like, MAGA is at the table. We are like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? You were never at the table. It's like Trump
Yeah,
was
they're
always
trying to
at the
flex some
Israeli table.
military might, but the numbers don't
Yeah, yeah.
back it up.
No. No. If Trump's gonna do something military, it's gonna only be because like Benjamin Netanyahu picks up the phone and be like, "All right, Trump, my good goyim Trump, like here's what you're gonna do next." Like Trump is only gonna listen to that guy. He's not gonna listen to like fucking, you know,
I don't
captive
even know if you'll
dreamer.
listen to him now because he wants the Nobel Prize so bad. So he wants to
Oh,
settle one of these two wars, either Ukraine or the Gaza conflict, and he wants to get his medal, man. So he
Oh yeah,
might
he wants
be
something
going
shiny.
over
I
this.
want Trump to get a Nobel Peace Prize just for the reeing and squeeing that will ensue from
Yeah, why not?
just to listen to all the blue hairs being like that fat
That
gender blob,
fascist.
remember in 2016, just as they said Donald Trump, next president of the United States, that kind of fat androgynous person, you're like, oh, just to hear that.
Yeah.
Trump is a great wrestling heel, and it's like it gets right into that kayfabe presidency. Being able to make people hate you this virulently, this much for this long is actually a pretty good achievement.
Yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
he's a master
But
troll.
Master Troll. One side of the political aisle is saying Trump is the hero, he's the savior on the white horse, he's gonna save us any moment now. And the other side, right? These are like the lefties and the liberals. Like the reason why they're depressed and blackpilled or whatever is not because they're scared of Trump, right? It's not because, oh my gosh, Trump's a fascist, he's a super duper, like, whatever, he's gonna beat the shit out of us. No, man, like, they know that Trump is a retard, an imbecile, right? But they also know that all the things that they've pursued, right? Like, okay, well, all of it has come for naught. Trump's gonna leave eventually. What do we have to replace him? Nothing, right? We don't have anything to replace him. And even if Trump goes away, because of all our failures in the past, we're also going to fail in the future, right? The left has come to that realization, right? And when I say left, I'm talking about the younger people. I'm not talking about the older types who are like, oh, the bulwark, oh, we're going to fucking save the republic or whatever. If nobody believes in that shit, right? So the lefties have figured it out. The right hasn't figured it out yet, right? I think it's because like they still have that adrenaline and euphoria, but like they're trying to make things matter, but even this Charlie Kirk thing, right? Like the Google searches for Charlie Kirk, it spiked for a while, and now it's back down to near zero levels, like it was before he was assassinated, right? And so,
Yeah.
like, well, we now have a martyr to rally around, and yeah, you do for a few days, and then everyone just moves on. Like, no one's interested, man. Like, no one's
They
interested.
played their hand way too hard, the Charlie Kirk stuff, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
announcing
yeah,
minting his face with a coin
yeah,
and just like, putting statues up in every college all over America. It's a bit too much. Like, just
yeah.
let the martyr form naturally. You don't have to make it feel like it's kind of a psyop. And then that
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
really gets people starting to think about, well, there's some inconsistencies in the story.
Yeah,
And you already have a lot of QAnon boomers, so they're
yeah,
going to be running away with skepticism.
yeah,
So in the end, I don't think they really achieved the martyr effect that they wanted initially.
yeah,
I
yeah,
see
yeah, yeah.
plenty of skeptical content on X lately, a lot of
Oh
it.
yeah.
And I'm not
Mm-hmm,
really like seeking out conspiratoid stuff, but it keeps popping up in my algorithm. So
mm-hmm,
people must be talking about it.
We should
mm-hmm.
learn the lesson that the left still hasn't learned. When you scream somebody is a Nazi and concentration camps are just around the corner and it'll be happening next week for 10 years, sooner or later, people stop listening to you. At this point, we already have an audience that's tired of hearing hysteria. I mean,
Yeah,
I think that's something to
on both
be
sides of the political
on
spectrum.
every side. I mean, people have just realized, well, wait a minute, Biden
People are
didn't
tired of
round
the
Trump up.
circus.
Yeah, wait, Biden didn't turn us into a communist state. Trump didn't turn us into a fascist state. Maybe we can all take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like people want to have a certain standard of living and they want to earn a certain amount of money and they want to provide after their family. That's it, man. Like
Yep. That simple.
it's that simple. And if you're like the guy and these fucking new right dissident right, whatever the fuck you want to call them, right? They're running around telling these people, don't worry, man. The tariffs will eventually take effect. And like you got laid off, you lost your business, all these other shitty things happened to you. Yeah, just wait 6 more months and things will get better. I'm like, that's insulting, man. That's fucking insulting, right? If you talk to people like that, like they're gonna sour on you very, very quickly. They're
Yeah.
just gonna be like, yeah,
The job market's in shambles.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of opportunity right now. And if you're building, money is tight with investors, so
Yeah.
not exactly a ripe climate for entrepreneurialism and middle class folk.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Sir Otter. Don't worry, Sir Otter. Trump's secret sauce will save everyone.
Well, it's the thing is, during the Biden administration, they were massaging the numbers on inflation like it was a happy ending Chinese joint. I
Oh
mean, they
yeah.
were completely trying to predict, well, this you just think there's inflation because you're listening to Republican, conservative, fascist people who are spreading misinformation. When you look at the numbers, you can see our economy is better than ever. And when it's patently clear that no, the economy's not better than ever, no, yes, wages are going up, that kind of approach really leaves people resentful.
Both
Hmm.
parties are openly fudging the numbers at this point. They're not even trying
Oh
to
yeah,
hide
bro.
it. It's shameless. It's shameless partisan politics.
Yeah, I mean, that's and unfortunately, you can only tell people, no, that lump of shit on your plate is really a chocolate cake for so long before they start realizing, nah, bro, it's a lump of shit.
Yeah. 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 And like, this whole like it's not just Twitter, it's also Substack where like John Carter and like Billionaire Psycho and all these people, they're just like, you know, they don't all necessarily always use the words trust the plan, but that's basically what they're telling people, trust the plan. And it's like
Pretty
you
much.
can yeah, pretty much. And it's like, okay, so okay, do you even live in America? Well, no, you don't. You're like some expat or something, or maybe you live overseas, or maybe you live in Canada or whatever. Like
He's
whatever,
he's
man.
Canadian, I think.
He's
I don't
Canadian.
know if
He's
he's an
Canadian.
expat or not. I'm pretty sure he's
Yeah,
just Canadian.
I think he's like a Canadian who just travels around the world. So like he's not even a real Canadian. He's like I care about my race, ethnicity or whatever. Like bro, you don't even live in the country. The majority like like Tommy Robinson, that guy.
Yeah.
He's just bro, he's just like a less popular version of Tommy Robinson. Like Tommy Robinson's like I'm an English patriot, I'm this, I'm that. And then he lives in Barcelona, Spain and Thailand. And people ask him about it and he's like, "Well, the Muslim invader is going to kill me if I go to like no, he's not, man. You're not going to get fucking stabbed. Shut the fuck up, right?" And so I'm just getting sick and tired of this, man. Like, look.
I've gotten really weary of it too because I like a
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
these dissident right writers,
Yeah, yeah.
over the years, and they used
Yeah.
to offer a lot more critical perspectives, a little bit more
Yeah.
nuance, but now they're just all in on the Trump train,
It's
even
full
if they're
regime
not
propaganda.
American.
Yeah, bro, it's
Even
full
if they're
bro.
not American, at least offer some critical perspective if you're not, if you don't have to cheerlead it.
Yeah.
You
Bro,
have a
it
stake outside of America. You can give a better perspective than that. I don't understand
it,
it.
it
It's disappointing.
bro, it's full regime propaganda, right? And
Yeah,
look, listen,
yeah. I mean,
I
who
I'm
knows? Maybe
not
they're gonna
look,
check. I mean, I hope they are. If you're
yeah.
carrying
I
that
mean,
much water, you should expect a check at least.
oh, they don't get fucking paid. That's the hilarious thing. Like even the Israelis don't pay them. But like the hilarious thing about all this is that I don't even live in America. I live in I was born in Bangladesh. I'm in the sandbox right now. Like I'm a fucking foreigner. I'm just an outsider. I'm looking at this and I'm feeling disgusted. I'm like, you're saying this to people who actually live in the country, work on the soybean farms, work in the fucking lumber and timber industry. They work in these places. You're telling them, like Sir Kenaz was saying, this pile of shit on your plate is actually a chocolate mousse cake. I'm like, you're just carrying water for the regime, man. Like when the Jews call you cattle and goyim, maybe they're not entirely wrong, man. Maybe they got a point.
That's funny.
I'm, it's like when they call you cattle, man, maybe you are a farm animal. Like you're behaving like one. Like you're like vindicating them whenever they say those disgusting things about you, right? Like what is going on here? Oh my gosh. Sir Kenneth, what do you think about
Well,
that what do you think about that essay written by Billionaire Psycho?
Billionaires say, I mean, things are really getting better. It's just like I couldn't smoke enough crack to type that. I
yeah,
mean, it
yeah.
really was kind of like, okay, things are not getting better for a large chunk of America. Where I think the terminally online right has stumbled is okay, you now no longer get censored on X, formerly Twitter, for having any opinion that's to the right of Pol Pot. You now are noticing that the left doesn't have the kind of cancel power they did a couple years ago. You're noticing the trans movement is becoming increasingly unpopular, and they have a lot less clout than they did. And that a lot of the people that were like using them as out, like, calling them proud allies a few years ago, have now decided that they really are backing away from that. So you're looking at that if you're terminally online, it's like, wow, things look great online.
Yeah, online. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, the culture war is being won, but the economic war is more important.
Yeah, that's just it. The culture war, it's not that the culture war is not important. It's that, like, you can't win a war by the culture war. Sooner or later, somebody's got to pull the economy out of the shitter.
Yeah. Yeah, they've been kicking the can along for a couple administrations now.
But and I think that's the thing everybody, and again, this is the same mistake the left made 10 years ago. They got the idea that all of a sudden everybody was repeating their slogans and putting their signs up in the windows. It's like, we've had a cultural shift. We're going to have a freer, juster, multiracial, blah, 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 juster, fairer society. And we're going to get rid of fascism because everybody supports us now. And then they discovered, well, everybody didn't support them, especially after they spent a few years just behaving like in a totally reprehensible manner.
Yeah. You'll lose the moderates quick.
And not just that, like the way the right-wing people, whatever you want to call them, nationalist, right-wing, dissident, whatever the fuck they call themselves, right? Like, the way they're behaving is, well, they used to cancel us, and so now we're going to cancel them. And I'm like, okay, but for the last nearly a decade, you were telling everyone, this is bad, this is wrong, and this is destroying America. It's not like, well, hey man, you played with the Xbox for like 10 years. Now mom and dad say I get to play on the fucking Xbox for 10 years. Like, okay, cancel culture doesn't work, bros. If you cancel someone, he's going to go on GoFundMe or whatever, raise the money back, right? He's going to find another job or whatever, right? You've made him and his like family a bunch of enemies. Like you've made an entire bunch of enemies, right? And so it's like it doesn't fucking work. And so it doesn't fucking work because you've been telling us that for the last several years. Now you're like, no man, I want to fiddle with the violin. I want to fucking play the Xbox. It's fucking pathetic, man. Right? And I actually view the right wing as more pathetic now than the left, solely because of this reason. Because like for many years, they were telling us the left is chaos, we are order, the left is this, we are this, and like 50 other adjectives. And it's like, okay, fair enough. So you got like 10 years of data or more than that to justify your position. Now you're like, well, we want to do cancel culture, we want to do, okay. But bro, like, it's not about who gets to fucking play the Xbox. It's about the fact that pursuing these things destroys social capital and civic integrity and destroys America from within. Right? Like, can't you see that? I'm a fucking foreigner and I can figure this out, right? Like,
Yeah,
oh, Civil War,
division.
Civil War. Yeah, fucking Civil War and whatever. Like, it's not Civil War, man. It's dirty war. Like, you think America's gonna have a Civil War? America's gonna have 1,000 Balkans and 100 Colombias, right? You're talking to your neighbor 7 a.m. in the morning, somebody claps you from behind, right? You're in the parking lot 9 p.m., 8 dudes jump you with knives. That's Civil War right there, right? Like, that happening all across the country. Like, and these people, right? For a long time, they were pretending, right? And I say pretending because now we are sure about it. They were pretending that, oh, we're the smart ones. We're the wise ones. We, when they punch low, we go high or whatever the fuck. Like, you're just the same pathetic, like, excuse of a human being that you accuse these guys of being, right? So, that's what it is. I mean, I sent you, Jen, something on the Zoom chat. United States Cash Freight Index. If you want to know how fucked the economy is, you normally look at this. What this is showing you is, containers and volumes and whatnot. So whenever this thing goes down, what that means is if you go to any of the country's ports, whether it's LA or New York or any of these other places, how much shipping is actually arriving. Um, Long story short, gentlemen,
Oh,
Yeah, it's a
um,
pretty severe drop. Pretty damn severe.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, pretty
Okay.
severe. We're back to 2009, 2008 levels basically. So these are like recessionary conditions.
Yeah.
Well,
I
it
mean,
feels
that's
that way
the,
in the
yeah.
job market right now.
It's
Oh yeah.
felt like we have had a recession since the early days of the Biden administration. We've
Oh
just
yeah, that's for
kept
sure.
juggling numbers to pretend we didn't. And I should add here,
Yep.
I don't blame Joe Biden for the recession. I blame the fact that we've been kicking the can on our economy for decades now, trying to stop the
QE'd.
big default from happening. Now, the thing where you mentioned that, like, now you feel like the right wingers are more pathetic than the left wingers on off, I would say what's really happening is the right wingers now have the chance to show their ass and misbehave and bully people. And yeah, they look just as pathetic as the right did, while
Oh
the
man.
right is trying very hard to maintain its grasp on power and deal with the nagging fear that, oh my God, maybe those fascists really won this time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's more a matter of, I said this in my piece on cancel culture. It's like the problem is not, is cancel culture good? Is cancel culture bad? Should you stop it? It's the question is, will you stop it? I mean, that cat is out of the bag now. You're not putting that cat back in. People have figured out, okay, you can cause people you disagree with politically to lose their jobs. You can embarrass them to their families. You can put them on blast so people protest outside their houses. You can get lists of their relatives so you can contact them. All kinds of stuff that we talked about taking the high road with. It's now standard operating procedure.
It
I'm not
is.
saying I like
Exactly.
it. I'm not saying I
Exactly.
like it. I'm not sitting here cheering for it. I'm stating,
Bingo, bingo, bingo.
what are you going to do about it? I'm going to
Well,
issue strongly worded statements. That seems to be the West's new thing. Putin dunks his balls in their coffee at the breakfast table. They issue a strongly worded statement accusing him of like violations against coffee sanitation codes.
yeah, look, Sir Kenas, all of that's true, but like cancel culture doesn't fucking work. That's the point. The point is like it's just attrition, right?
Yeah,
You get this guy, he raises the money on GoFundMe, he gets his bros and family on his side. And so number one, it doesn't fucking work. And the reason I call the right more pathetic than the left is because the right wing have 10 years of data or more demonstrating that it doesn't fucking work. And they're still gonna go down the blind alley. So it's like, okay, so you're just a damn lemming jumping off the cliff, right?
yeah,
You're just a damn lemming. It's like, well, the blacks and the Negroes or whatever, they're just like, oh, they're dysfunctional. I'm like, dude, you make an average African country look fucking functional, right?
well,
Like you're like, I'm gonna do this thing, destroy social cohesion, destroy civic unity, destroy it, right? And then attrition it away, and what have you. Like, no African country behaves like this, man. Like, if you go to fucking Nigeria, where there's like multiple civil wars between Christians, Muslims, and all these other ethnic groups, they don't go around going, okay, this guy did this to me. I'm gonna do this just for the hell of it. They're gonna be like, no, this guy did this to me, right? It doesn't fucking work. Let's figure out a different way of doing things, whether it's like military or diplomacy or what have you, right? Like, people actually like look to the past and like, all right, let's learn from our mistakes, or like, let's learn from the past. The West can no longer learn from the past. The West is just like, oh, he did this to me, I gotta do this. Oh, he did that to me, he wronged me, I gotta wrong him back. Like, what did you call it, Sir Kenas? The politics of desire? That's what it is. It's the politics of desire. That's all they got left.
yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't say this is an effective strategy.
Yeah.
No, I wrote a whole article about how this alienates the moderates and the swing voters, and you're going to have another backlash, just like there was to woke, but to MAGA. You
Yep.
already see people kind of feeling a little buyer's remorse in the Trump administration. His approval ratings are not exactly high at the moment. So you risk alienating this whole center of the American population
Yeah.
by trying to cater to the fringe the way MAGA has been lately.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's it. And again, getting back to what Ahnaf just said, this is exactly what the Democrats did in
Exactly.
2016
Yeah,
to
they didn't learn the
2020.
mistake.
We're going to, they made the mistake of, well, when I look at Twitter, I see that everybody is really, really ardent about trans rights, about LGBTQ issues. And so, we've got to really tack hard in that direction to catch those voters. What they're doing today is like, well, I see today people are very MAGA, they're very wound up about Charlie Kirk. They're really very strong Trump supporters. So we got to tack right. And in both cases, the most active people on social media are frequently, they're people who are disabled with some kind of physical or physical disability, and they are living off disability payments. They don't have to work. That all, I'm not calling them bad people for being this. I'm saying the interests of somebody who doesn't have a job and has never had a job in their life are going to be different than the interests of somebody who's like, well, if I don't work for a living, my family goes hungry. They
Bingo.
tend to be more radical because you start getting circles of affirmation. Well,
Yeah.
of course, if you don't support, of course, if you aren't against like the bans, one of the big ones on Blue Sky recently was Blue Sky issued a ban on rape porn.
Okay.
Couldn't
Interesting.
issue ban. You could no longer write stories that dealt with non what they call non-con in the scene. People were screaming about the censorship and how this meant, well, if you can't write rape porn, they're coming for the trannies next. I'm like, no such luck. But this kind of stuff. So you see you start seeing with a lot of people who are terminally online purity spirals. When they don't have anybody else to scream at, they start screaming at each other. And
Yeah.
so you end up getting a message that very much, is a product of a small hothouse. It's
Yes.
Yes,
not a
sir.
product that like actually what goes on social media doesn't really reflect what the average American, what the average working class American is
Nor the
thinking,
electorate.
nor the
Yeah.
electorate. They don't.
Yeah.
So, and
They're
it's
a
like,
small percentage of the electorate.
yeah, and if you make the mistake of treating virtual reality like reality, you're going to fall into the same trap the Biden administration did.
Yep.
hmm hmm Like I don't even understand why. Okay, so sometimes you talk to these people, and everything you said is right, Sir Kenaz, right? And sometimes you talk to them, and they say, "Well, we don't want the center, we don't want the moderates, we just want our boys, quote unquote." And like they think it's just a bunch of 6'5", 250 pound. No, man, like you're talking about a bunch of terminally online, whatever the fuck, right? Well, if all of these guys and the fighting age men are on our side, and we get to do this and that and the other thing, and we can just take over things. I'm like, okay, bro. First of all, the average age of a white male in America is like 45, 46. If you check out the median age, that's kind of what the number you get. If you check out the mode is the most common age. It's like 53 something, right? A bunch of 53, 55, 58-year-olds are not gonna fucking overrun the government, man, right? And that's like the mode age for like the white men, right? What the fuck are you talking about? Like, have these people not figured out that they're doing like fucking cosplay and like what did Sir Cleveland say? They're putting on cheap replica Viking helmets and whatever the fuck, and then they start yelling loudly with their plastic imitation swords. I'm a Saxon, I'm a barbarian, I'm an Anglo this or whatever the fuck. And like, is this all mental illness? Is that what this is, guys? Like, what's going on here?
I I mean, again, I think those people are here for the entertainment. They're not here to actually engage in any kind of regime change. You can safely use them as you can, ignore them as necessary, but don't make the
Well,
mistake of thinking,
politics is like
yeah.
sports to some people, and
Oh yeah,
especially those kind of people, they're there for the trauma-based entertainment.
yeah.
Yeah, they're there to watch, like, if somebody gets his leg broke.
That's basically it. Yeah,
Yeah.
no. Yeah,
Uh,
like they're not interested in policy. They're not interested in, okay, hey, does this help farmers or does it not? It's like, okay, well, did my guy get that uppercut in on the other guy? Or oh, the rhetoric on this guy. Oh man, I can make a meme out of this or whatever. Like it's a terminal sickness, right? Like you're not gonna make it, bros. Like if that's all you're good for, you're not gonna make it. Like there's other people in the other parts of the world who actually do care about policy making and who actually go out into the real world and build stuff, whether it's civilian, military, or what have you. If that's where America's at, then it's fucking finished. It's like all you care about is the fucking like phantasm of like the online space or whatever. Like you don't care about the farmers and the timber workers and all these other guys that, all right, man, I guess somebody else will take your spot. Like, you will be replaced, right? Which, at this point, I don't even think the great replacement is a bad thing, right? Like, I'll tell you guys why, right? So, I mean, Sir Malcolm talked about Sweden. I'll talk about the UK, I guess. The UK and a couple of these other places. Long time ago, I went there. Nowadays, I'm just like, yeah, get me away from these places. But like, if you go to these places, right? The nationalist, the populist, the patriot, whatever the fuck they call themselves, right? So it's like, well, what do you believe in? Do you believe in like, protecting your industries, your farmers, and all these other things that, a quote unquote nationalist should care about? Not really. No, they don't care about that stuff. They don't care about racial, ethnic solidarity, whatever the fuck, right? The guy needs to have the correct views. He needs to be the correct race and ethnicity. And oh, by the way, he needs to have all these other things, right? And so it's like, what ends up happening eventually with these guys is they become a puppet of the Israeli lobby, right? And the reason for that is because Israel gives them the cheap, usurious loans and shit. They fund and bankroll the operation. And you get to the point where, like, Tommy Robinson and these types of patriots or whatever the fuck, they're just in bed with the Zionists. And so it's just like, okay, so let me get this straight. So you're not an actual nationalist or racialist or racist with a capital R or whatever. You're actually like a goy for the Jews. And okay, so you want other people to have your belief. Okay, so why the fuck does it matter if 68 million British people get replaced by 68 million Indian people? India is a very, very pro-Israel nation, right? They believe a lot of the things you believe, right? Again, it's like civic and like ideological. It's not about racial solidarity anymore. They believe all this stuff, right? All this other stuff that you care about or seem to care about, which is like being cattle to your Jewish masters. The Indians can do it better than you, right? They have to they have to work as well, but they take less wages than you. Why the fuck does it matter, man? Like, why does it matter that your quote unquote heritage and whatever the fuck is preserved and whatnot when all it gets you is to like this outcome? I don't understand it. I really don't, right? And I'm beginning to sour on these people to the point where I'm just gonna like fucking lampoon them on this point, man. I'm just gonna be like, you say the great replacement is bad. Why is it bad? Right? Why is it bad, man? Explain it to me.
Great replacements are inevitable when empires fall. That's
Yeah,
just a
yeah,
given. You start seeing more people from, like, more former vassals wind up in like the homeland. Then the vassals start taking control, the vassals start taking more territory as the empire pulls out.
yeah. That's what we're seeing right now, right? Like the reason Canada is being colonized by India, is not because, oh my gosh, India is invading Canada. No, it's because Canadian business people, Canadian government, all these other guys, they invited the Indians over, right? They work for dirt cheap, right? They do all these other things, right? And more importantly, like the average Canadian is like 42, 45 years old. The mode, if you actually like, I actually look at the numbers for these things. I'm not just pulling this out of my ass, right? But like, I think the mode for the average white Canadian is like 58 years old. So if you take a white Canadian and you ask the question, okay, what is the most likely age that I'm gonna find this guy at? It's 58. If you're at 58, man, you're at grandpa age, man. You're at grandpa age. You're not gonna be like, barbarian, Viking, Saxon, whatever the fuck, and like, oh, I'm gonna mow down 100 men and restore Canadian whiteness. No, dude, you're fucking grandpa, all right?
Well, you
You're
seem
fucking
like you have a critique hidden underneath this, a little bit of a barbed edge you're handing it to them. Is that if you're not opposing the capitalist system,
yeah,
then are you really trying to preserve Canada as it is? Because the Japanese, they
yeah,
took their 2 decades of stagnation
yeah,
and no growth as a
yeah.
conscious decision to preserve their nation as it is. I don't
Um,
really see the same,
well,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
impetus on the West. They want to have their cake and to eat it too.
I don't even think it's capitalism. I think it's just like, you cannot have an industrial society if you don't have a big population of peasants in the countryside
Yeah,
or what have you.
yeah.
Yeah. Like,
But you can take a few decades of stagnant growth and, focus inward. But
well,
if you want
if
to
you
keep
if you talk to
competitive and keep your
yeah, yeah, yeah,
country
yeah,
a
yeah.
top dog, the unipolar hegemony of,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, all the
Mhm, mhm.
Western powers together, they're importing people for a reason because they get more money from the World Bank, they get
Yeah,
cheap
yeah, yeah.
labor.
Bingo, bingo, bingo,
Yeah,
bingo,
so if you're
bingo.
against one thing, you have to
Yeah.
be against the other too, and you have to, tighten your belt a little bit. But I don't see anyone really making this
No,
demand.
no, no. You brought up Japan. If you actually talk to Japanese politicians, um, they actually, like, one of the things Japan became after the lost decade was that it became a deflationary parking lot. And what I mean by parking lot is if you're like a big finance guy or a central bank or whatever, you're like, oh, Japan, this is where the deflation happens. So if we just buy a bunch of cheap Japanese treasury bonds, right? It can be negative yield or what have you, or like super low yield. We can just park all our assets here. Like, the way the global financial system works is that you've got more risky assets and then you've got quote unquote safer assets. Historically, bonds have been the safer assets, right? So, it sounds very complicated. I'm going to make it simpler. Let's say you're like an individual person and you're like, I want to buy a car, I want to buy this, I want to buy that. Well, what do? You do, in the Western countries, you do something called home equity line of credit. So you've got your house,
Yeah.
which is partially paid for, or it's fully paid for. That's your quote unquote safe asset. And then using that safe asset, you go into debt, you draw on your like credit lines, and you buy all the other stuff. For the last several decades, Japan played that role. And because it played that role, it could get away with certain things, right? But that
Hmm.
role is now coming to an end. Like, I don't know if you follow Japanese news, but like one
A
of
little
these
bit.
politicians, yeah, one of these politicians was basically saying, we're gonna make 4 mini towns for like these new waves of African migrants, and then we're gonna take in like 500,000 Indians over the next 5 years. So I don't think, like, my view is actually more tragic than you think it is. My view is, even if people wanted to stop immigration, they can't, because like the lifestyle that they live of like 40 million people in Tokyo, in order to make that possible, there has to be something else that happens, right? Now, historically, what that meant was peasants moving in from the countryside into the big cities and what have you. But Japan no longer has that. Japan's got a bunch of old people in the countryside, which is getting sucked up into Tokyo. And even now, that's not working. I think Tokyo's population is now slowly going down. And so they're looking at that and going, okay, we are in deflation, we are in degrowth, we are in depopulation zone. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Let's take in migrants and solve it, right? And like, they're not doing it because they're evil, right? They're doing it because, like, Sir Kenaz loves to say it, but I'll use his terminology. They're doing it because it's like they're at the roulette table. There's green 00. Bet all the chips on green 00. We're gonna win. Why are we gonna win? If you ask them, well, we're gonna win because we're Japan or we're the West, and we always win, and therefore we're gonna win. That's all it is, man. It's just superstition now. It's just superstition, right?
I
Um,
like to call it cargo cult stuff. It's just like,
yeah,
okay, well, we let a lot of people immigrate
yeah. Dump enough
during, yeah,
migrants. Dump
It
enough
worked.
migrants and the problem will go away. Yeah.
It worked during the Ellis Island days. We imported a bunch of migrants and we became the greatest manufacturing country in the world. So if we import a bunch of migrants today, we'll become the greatest manufacturing company in the world. We were in the middle of a Great
There's definitely a
Depression. We got
mythology
into
behind
World
this.
War II. And then we, not just came out of the Depression, we entered a generations long boom. If we get into a world war, that same thing is going to happen.
Yeah.
I think people forget the history goes beyond the 19th century.
Bingo.
They got to go a little bit further back because there's patterns to these things, and a catastrophic war doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be an economic boom. It could be a slow, tumbling collapse over centuries, even.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
that is what I would expect. I mean, I think the big variable that everybody forgets when they're talking about both both immigration and World War III as an economic boost, we had large active factories running at that time. They were running idle because we just didn't because of basically deflation. In the Ellis Island days, it's like we're booming so fast we can't keep up with the labor. We're not neither in we it would take us years to decades to get America's industrial centers back to where they were, never mind during the boom period, during the 30s through the 50s.
Yeah.
It would take decades. It would take money we don't have and resources we don't have to markets we don't have. But I'm just saying, even if we could do it, it's like, as I always like to say, you don't pick up the phone and say, hello, big factory company. Could you deliver a big factory to my lot by Tuesday?
Oh, dear.
Yeah, it takes a few years to establish an operation.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even a fucking like aluminum mine takes like 20 years on average, right? And these guys are like, we're gonna do tariffs on you. Oh, what was that? You import 80% of your aluminum from Canada, and only 20% is domestically sourced. Hey, man, you only got a few days, weeks, and months. Good luck.
Yeah, that's what I couldn't understand about this Trump plan. It's mad.
Yeah, it is mad, man. It is mad. It's cargo cult bullshit, right? It's cargo cult bullshit. I mean, yeah. I think like the next step in this is going to be far more grim. Like, like people got pissed by the H-1B stuff. I think Trump and like I think especially Vance, because Vance is just married to an Indian woman. I mean, I just find it funny, man. Like he's married to an Indian woman. She worships Vishnu, right? She actually worships Vishnu, right? With nothing wrong with that. Hindus worship their gods, but like, and her son's name is Vivek, right? So like this is supposed to be like the white racist savior, JD Vance, this guy. Like, dude, he's gonna dump a million Indians on you.
Oh, for sure.
I think the problem is that, I've said this before, like, I think the problem is that whole white nationalism, white race, white savior, like the 157 genders, is largely an online, exclusively online. You don't have, in reality, there's not enough people out there who are interested in that kind of nationalism, the kind of, there's a difference between people who are willing to share spicy memes and offensive jokes and people who genuinely hate their neighbors.
Yes, sir.
And I think that's, one of the problems is like now you see people wanting to radicalize the same way that you saw in 2016, from 2016 through 2024. The Democratic Party cannot survive if it doesn't stand up for non-binary lesbians. That whole thing, that's like they're trying to push it towards a fringe that doesn't really interest anybody but a small and largely marginalized group.
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
people should think of these things in a medieval way, where you have a dominant culture, some sub pockets of other cultures in the same
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
territory, working for the
Hmm.
same systems, more decentralized. Um,
Yeah,
that's generally how things work in the world historically.
yeah,
I mean, white is really a sociological term. We have
yeah,
Hungarians, we have Englishmen. We can talk about these local cultures and how they work and how maybe we can cooperate as Europeans because of the economic zone we've created. But the white
yeah.
thing really is only an American phenomenon as far as I see it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is, I mean, Librarian of Celiano, when we had him on, made a really good point. He's like, okay, you're a European nationalist. Show me a time in history where all of Europe got together as Europeans and decided they were one united Europe and they were all going to work together and they weren't going to go to war and kill each other. Outside of the before the European Union, you didn't
Yeah,
have
well, the
that, and
Peace
you
of
barely
Westphalia,
have it.
I would
Yeah,
point out,
the
yeah.
peace of Westphalia took what, a 30-year war to get to,
Yeah, yeah,
and then we
correct.
went right back to fighting not long after.
yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, it's just like there's the idea that there's some unified European identity that, an Irish croft farmer has like something in common with, they may have something in common with a Russian farmer. They might, not like in terms of their life, but the idea that there's some shared identity where we're all part of one group. Yeah, as you said, outside of the United States, that's not the case. People tend to, you tend to identify yourself by ancestry, by clan, by tribe, by shared interest, by religion. The idea of like, well, I am a member of the white race. It's like, great, you and about 2 billion others, get in line.
It's not really 2 billion. It's more like less than 800 million now. But like,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, well, okay, so it's a shorter line.
I think that's the reason why like they want this like pan-ethnic thing of like white, but nobody else is interested. Like, your quote unquote fellow white people, well, one of them happens to be Greta Thunberg. And regardless of what you think about her, she went on the flotilla. She got arrested by the Israelis. I got deported back. And she was basically like treated horribly in prison. And like, what do these guys say? They're like, oh, well, that fucking gay race communist Greta Thunberg sucks to be her, fuck her, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, but aren't you like a capital R, capital W, white nationalist racist? Like, it shouldn't matter to you what her ideology is, right? Because, like, like that OJ Simpson thing of like, well, the blacks go, okay, well, I don't actually care whether OJ Simpson did it or not. He's quote unquote from my tribe or whatever. And like, Sir Malcolm made this point. Sir Malcolm made this point on Twitter when he was doing one of his rants. He's like, the average Negro from like the late 19th century, early 20th century, the so-called white nationalists or whatever the fuck, man, like they're not even 1% of that with regard to overall solidarity, right? So you calling these people like ethno-nationalists or whatever, like racial solidarity, that's not what they are, man. Like in their actions and in their deeds and in their words, that's not what they are. Like they
There's a
can
couple of
pretend
them
to
out
be.
there. There's some hardliners out there, but
There's some
not
hardliners out there.
not the
Yeah, yeah.
popular writers, that's for sure.
No, 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 no. The popular writers are like, no, the person has to be white, and oh, they have to have the correct beliefs, and oh,
White
they
and
gotta have the
MAGA.
correct. Yeah, and they
It
gotta
doesn't
have the
matter
correct
if you're
belief.
Canadian, and it doesn't matter if you're from the UK or Ireland.
Yeah,
If
yeah, yeah.
you're on English speaking political conversations, you're MAGA. Doesn't
Hmm.
matter where you're from. You gotta be MAGA.
You gotta be MAGA. Yeah, yeah. You gotta be MAGA. You gotta be this, and then you gotta be
It's
like,
become like a cult,
bro.
truly.
You gotta have the right politics. You gotta have the right religion, and then you gotta have like the right connections. I mean, at that point, bro, you can just like kiss Israel's ass, man. Like, I know what position you're gonna now promote, man. Shut the fuck up. Stop pretend. Like these guys, man. It's not
That's
just a cult.
true.
You're
They
absolutely
always end up being like NATO shills and supporting
bro.
everything that is counter
Exactly.
to the freedom from the global tyranny against the white man.
Oh yeah, bro. Oh yeah. No, you're absolutely correct. And you know what it is? You know what it is? It's like it's not just a cult. It's just a bunch of cattle and goyim for the Jews, right? Like if that's what you're gonna be, man, then just call yourself a neoconservative. Call yourself like, the poor man's neoconservative. And like, this whole like dissident right crowd on Substack, especially, and like Twitter and these other places, you're just the poor man's neoconservative, man. Like,
It's a
some
good
of
way
you
to
are good
describe
writers.
it.
Yeah, yeah. Some of you are good writers, whatever, man. But like, a year from now, less people are going to be reading you. And the reason less people are going to be reading you is because you're going to keep lying to them about how the economy is getting better. Don't worry, man. Trust the plan. Trump's about to save you or whatever. And people are going to be like, yeah, man, I'm out. Get me off the fucking Trump train.
Yeah, I got off real early, uh, but
Oh,
everyone
yeah?
else, I don't know. I don't know when they're gonna get off. They seem
Oh,
full
they'll get
speed
off, man.
ahead.
Full speed ahead into the fucking rocks. So,
Theory of
Kenaz,
Yeah.
what do you
prior
think's
and
going to
theory of prior investment. You've put
clear your
so
prior
much
investment? Yeah.
time, so much energy, so much desire into a Trump win that you're going to start searching for things that make you think, yeah, things are really definitely getting better. Oh yeah, we're making America great again, baby. And to ignore things that don't fit, like that don't really match up with that. Now,
Mhm.
you may notice the left did the exact same thing for 4 years, and this is not a whataboutism thing. It's just a fact that this is a great weakness of becoming a political zealot. You
Yeah.
put blinders on. And I think these people, like I said, I think there's a certain amount of, okay, the tide has shifted on social media. Suddenly, you're not getting as much tranny mania. You're not seeing as many of the, like, in this house we believe signs on doorsteps. The stuff is like those people can now be safely laughed at. And that's actually more important than it seems, because one of the things social media can do is give you an illusion of consensus. People
Yes,
really
sir.
thought that everybody believed all that stuff that was getting spewed on from 2020 to 24, because anybody that didn't believe it either got harassed or suspended from social media. So
Bingo.
it
Yeah.
created that, and it's good that that consensus has cracked, because it's good that the normies realize that, okay, I don't have to spout these slogans. I can disagree with them, and I'm not going to lose my job. I'm not going to be getting death threats. I'm not going to have people calling me at home, etc.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
I just want to see it go back to what it was in like the 90s and the aughties on Usenet and like FidoNet boards and some of that stuff, where it's like, okay, if I think a Nazi might have something interesting to say, I'll read their post. I might politely disagree with it or not. Okay, a communist said something I think is interesting, but everybody agreed that it was important that like everyone could have a voice, even the controversial ones.
Hmm.
Today, it's
Hmm.
really become a struggle for who gains control of the narrative.
Yeah. What's nice about Substack for now? There's a
Yeah.
whole diversity of thought. People do
Mm.
interact with each other across boundaries from time to time, like you
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
Librarian on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I find interesting is like it's been a few months. It was for a while about every 6 months you'd have some liberal white woman suddenly discover there are Nazis on Substack.
Yeah, every so often one of those posts shows up for me too.
And it's
Oh
like,
yeah. Yeah.
a couple times they got people really worked up. Substack handled that their management handled that really well. They just said, no, we're not getting rid of them. Well, then we're leaving. Well, pack your bags and go. We can live without you better than you can live without us. And
Hmm.
so they
Hmm.
moved to Beehive. They moved to all these other places. They went and promoted their stuff however they wanted it to. And The Nazi stuff, for its part, stayed essentially really marginalized stuff that, maybe gets a couple hundred readers if they're lucky. There's not really a huge market for people who have swastikas up and advocate gassing Jews. That might surprise some people, but there's really not that big a market for it.
No,
And the
no.
market kind of treated them as they thought it would, as they deserved to be treated. They ignored them.
Yes, sir.
The other thing I always noticed with the Nazi complaints, they started out as Nazi complaints, and then you idiots jumped the gun. You started pushing it down the slippery slope before you'd even before it was too early. There's a lot of COVID misinformation on here. Well, I see a lot of racism and hate. I see a lot of Trump supporters on here. And it's like, okay, you have to pretend you're only doing this about Nazis before you use it to gain control of the narrative. You're not even smart enough to do that.
Gentlemen, here's some memes for you. Just found this, actually. War Criminal Shepherd. What is this? War Criminal Shepherd N7. Current mood. This is the image he posted. This is for you, gents. So that's where things are at, basically. That's where things are at, basically. They brainwashed you, says the MAGA tard, and he's like, really?
He's got Kamala boobies on his shirt.
That's all he wants.
Okay, that is something I didn't really,
That's funny.
I could have spent the rest of my life without imagining Kamala boobies. My life is no better for now having imagined them. But, they were trying to make Kamala's daughter the most, one of the most beautiful women in the world, biggest supermodel. It's like, she's mid. She's on the low end of mid, in fact, but I'm saying mid to be nice.
Yeah.
It's like what they tried.
It's a gender fluid blob.
Yeah, they tried so hard. Coconut Brat Joy Summer. That was kind of like, they just threw everything but the kitchen sink out to make Kamala look like something besides an uncharismatic, shrill, and not particularly intelligent politician. And they failed.
Yes, sir.
It was just, they tried so hard. And I thought the Hillary Clinton campaign in 2016 was the worst campaign I'd seen. The Kamala campaign was worst. Okay, give her credit. They kind of got off to a bad start because it took them that long to acknowledge it. Okay, yes, Joe Biden is senile. No, he's not qualified for president. So she didn't really get enough time to set up a good campaign, but there was never a good campaign. There never was a chance of a good campaign.
Well, the reason for that is very simple. It's because they don't have any ideas, right? They don't, right? Like, the thing is, after Trump is gone, what are they going to do?
It's just the anti-Trump party at this point.
Yeah. Like, they have no ideas. They're like, okay, well, what is your program? What are your policies? What is it? Yeah, they can give you a few of these policies, fair enough, but it's mostly like minutia and these type of things. If you ask them, like, okay, what do you do about the national debt? What do you do about the fact that American manufacturing is gone? Like, if you ask the big questions, they don't have answers, right? And the right-wing bros are no better, right? In certain ways, they're worse because, like, okay, well, we got this Trump cult of personality, Donald John Trump, and he's going to take us to the promised land. And you just like, okay, well, he's an 80-year-old, he's sundowning, he probably had a stroke, his family has Alzheimer's, right? He's probably going to get Alzheimer's soon. Like, what do you do in a post-Trump world? And they can't imagine it. They don't have one. They're like, okay, well, J.D. Vance. Okay, J.D. Vance, the guy married to an Indian woman whose son is named Vivek. That's going to save your country? By what? Dumping 10 million Indians? Like, that's all you got left? So you got the right-wing bros, they're like, dump 10 million Indians. And you got the left-wing bros, they're like, Kamala Harris 2.0, and I don't know, she can be vice president with Gavin Newsom as president or whatever. Like, okay, man. I mean, America goes down the toilet then.
Gavin Newsom is like, Gavin Newsom has never had an original thought in his head, I don't think. You're running, at this point, trying to get a cult of personality politician.
Yeah, they're just
Yeah.
trying to
trying to
push him
find a
because he's
liberal
handsome.
Trump.
They're
Yeah.
trying to find a liberal Trump. Yeah, that's basically
And
what
they're
they're doing.
really trying to mirror Trump's rhetoric back at him, and it's not funny, it's not witty, it's really poorly done. I have no idea what that campaign is fathoming, but I don't think he's gonna be the real pick in the end for the Democrats. They gotta have someone else ready. And it might be AOC even.
Vance versus, let's see, Vance versus what's his name? JD Vance versus Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom 49, JD Vance 41. So, I mean, I don't believe in these polls, by the way, but like, if you're like a Democrat strategist and you look at that poll, you're like, oh my gosh, Gavin Newsom, man, he's our Trump, right? Like, all right, man.
He's got a
You want to
horrible
believe?
track record in California.
Yeah.
Terrible
Yeah.
mayor of San Francisco, terrible governor of the state, lot of
Mhm.
wasted money, lot of
Yes,
projects
sir.
unfinished.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, basically, they've got to know if they run Gavin Newsom, California is not like the fact that he was a leader in California is not really going to work in his favor.
Oh, the state
Mhm.
hates him. Talk to any Californian and they can rant about how much they can't stand Gavin Newsom. But they'll swallow that pill and they'll vote D anyway. But,
Yeah, I mean, there's going to
Trump made pretty big rounds in California, actually. So it could even go red if Newsom runs. I don't know if they'll risk that.
people forget, like people in the East forget that California is the state that gave us Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan.
Yep. There's a lot more conservatives than you expect in California.
I've kind
Yes,
of
sir.
gathered it's along the coastline and Northern California, and even there, mostly Northeastern California, is where you tend to have the crunchy granola liberals that California that are the stereotype of California. You get out Orange County and beyond, and it's like this is no long. People here, you'll see Trump signs in the
It's
yard.
MAGA country.
Yes, sir.
That's the same thing in New York. New York City is very liberal. Albany is very liberal. Outside of that, New York is as red as a southern state.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You get that, you start going to small towns in New York, rural New York, you will see they're extreme, and the places that you've got that are blue are either, impoverished minority districts or around college towns.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, American politics, the greatest circus on the world, Sir Kenaz, right? Uh,
Oh, it's my
I mean,
sports game.
I want to see if America is even gonna have like a proper midterms next year, or is it just gonna be like some bullshit? Because like there's way too many things happening right now. I mean, there's still 13 months left till November of next year. By then, all kinds of shit can happen. You can have like economic depression. You can have like simultaneous wars with Iran and Venezuela. You can have all this other crap. I mean,
Hey guys, I
250
gotta
years.
hop off.
Oh, okay, fair enough, fair enough.
Okay.
So,
All right. Yeah, it was a pleasure having you, Mr. Otter. Glad that we had Mr. Raven. Now we had Mr. Otter. We're turning into goddamn Narnia here.
there we go. There we go. There we
But
go.
yeah, thank you so much for showing up, and look forward to seeing you again. Whatever you're doing, you have a good time doing it. And for all of the people that are listening to us and are telling us that no, this time is different, Trump is going to pull something out of his hat. Well,
your soul is mine.